for joining us on The Skeptic Psychic, where we delve into ancient societies, ghosts, the paranormal, UFOs, all looking at it from the perspective of the true believer and from the skeptic perspective. Joining me, my partner, my co host, my sibling, Kimber Rodriguez. Myself, I am Richard Gregg. And again, let's look into being the skeptic psychic.
Hello. Good evening. How you doing? What you been up to? What you doing? Anything new? Hope everything's working all right for you. This is, of course, me, the Skeptic Psychic, Richard Gregg, and it's really going to talk really fast because I really don't think you know everything. Because I'm trying to show the voice is really working very, very good.
Yeah, people are going to think there's something wrong with the feed.
Okay. I would like.
Okay. Let's speed it up now.
Okay.
You do sound much better though.
Thank you. So
Yes. So how are you tonight?
I am doing much, much better. As I lost my voice, I could not even talk for about a week. That was really sad because that was a Christmas week. Christmas was not as joyous, as happy as everything. And then New Year's, on the other hand, was kind of like okay. And more than likely, it's the fact of it seems like my sister has gotten frozen. If she can actually say anything, well, there she is. Hello, my wonderful sister. And she's also gone mute and frozen again. So let me tell you more about my what's going on in my life. Let's see. Last night I had a dream. I was basically spending some quality time with my step aunt. She knows who she is, and she's kind of I would say known in the punk rock circuit in San Francisco. I'm just going to leave it at that.
Are you
Anyway,
there?
yeah, I'm here. I'm sitting here talking about all these wonderful things about my, a dream I just had last night about my aunt, which again, she's step aunt, I should say. She's part of the punk rock scene there in San Francisco, and I had a dream last night where we're kind of sitting in the club, and she had just gotten off the bless you, gotten off the stage from her little 15-minute, little concert. They took taking a break in between, and she's like, I've never heard you sing. I'm like, well, not much of a singer. My brother, on the other hand, talented musician, can sing, can play the guitar. She says, well, I've heard him, but I've never heard you. So I got up on stage and did a very soulful rendition of "I'm a Believer" by Neil Diamond, not the Monkees or the. I mean, Neil Diamond did a slow version of it a few years ago, and uh, so I hear this voice saying, "What the f was that?" Now, what an f? It was the actual word, but So I'm like, I recognize the voice, so I'm like, well, I'm sorry, Mr. Dollars, but prefer something like this, and I did an a cappella version of "Sweet Young Thing" by the Monkees. So that's basically what the most exciting thing about the dream was. I had the whole crowd going nuts over it. So other than that, I'm gonna tonight we're gonna be talking about one of my favorite I would say character mythos and just bon vivant of the personification of what everything in life goes through. Mainly, I think it'd be a pretty good idea to. Oh, I'm sorry, Amber, you're back. I can hear you now.
You
So
can hear me now.
yes.
Thank you. I sorry, my sound system decided to go out on me. So
So, like I said,
yeah.
I was just covering for us, and I don't think anybody else is here. So, hopefully, if,
Yeah.
when they catch us on recap, they get this really great story about my dream of performing in front of a live audience.
Yes, who was the female that you were performing with? I didn't hear that.
I was performing with our step aunt who lives in San Francisco, and she's part of the
Oh.
punk rock scene there.
Oh, Aunt Linda. Yes.
Yes, but
Interesting. I would definitely send her that. I think she'd get a kick out of that dream that you had.
yeah,
Yeah.
like I
Well,
said, I turned like I said, did a very soulful rendition of "I'm a Believer" by Neil Diamond. Then, like I said, reiterating, I heard what the f was that? It sounded like Mickey Dolenz. And so I immediately like, well, would you prefer this, Mr. Dolenz? And I did a cappella version of "Sweet Young Thing" by the Monkees.
ah. So, my Christmas was actually really nice. I had a good time with family. Um, but I was given the gift of the flu. So, as our
And I
brother
was
said,
nowhere around her.
no, as our other brother said, I think it was a white elephant gift that I couldn't return.
I guess so.
So, I'm just barely getting over that myself and starting to feel a little more like myself.
Right.
Um,
I haven't felt like
and
myself in 2 weeks.
ah, so you were saying about the topic for tonight.
Yes. One of my favorite topics of all time, the characterization. One of the things I've actually, including in my own uh, fictional work, one of my favorite character mythos personifications, which everyone must meet one of these days, and of course that is the Grim Reaper.
Yes, the Grim Reaper. Is he a harbinger of death? Is he a guide into the afterlife? Do we fear him in error as he's just there to help the transition be a little easier? What are your thoughts on the Grim Reaper and why we fear him so much? Is it the idea of death? Is it, we don't know what is out there? What are your thoughts?
I'm more or less on a Blue Oyster Cult feeling about it. I
Yes.
don't fear the Reaper, and I want more cowbells.
Yes, we need more cowbells.
Yes, I got a fever for a flavor of more cowbells.
Love it. Yes. Definitely my favorite. Well, I have two favorites. We do have a viewer tonight too. Hello. Let us know who you are. As Facebook is mean and just says you're a user. We like to know who's joining us. But my two favorite death personifications, I guess you could say, is one. Well, actually, I guess you could say I have three. Shelly, hello, happy holidays, Shelly. Um, the first, of course, would be on a pale horse, Pierce Anthony, and we'll go into that a little later. Also, I really enjoy Death in the Discworld Terry Pratchett universe, so I'm sure we'll discuss that as well. And also, if you've ever seen my favorite Witchley show, Charmed, the original, they had a great Angel of Death on there as well.
I kind of preferred the Touched by an Angel, Angel of Death.
I don't know if I ever. Oh, okay. Wasn't he that one guy, the blonde guy? Wasn't he the Angel of Death?
Yes,
Okay.
and then of course there's my favorite Angel of Death,
Which one?
mine.
Oh, from your books that you're writing.
Yes,
Yes. I've been waiting 20, 30 years to find out more about him.
yes. He's an interesting character.
Yes. Well, as we kick off the episode, I do wanted to give a shout out. We do have a new research assistant to help us out. So I want to give a shout out to Autumn and thank you for all the work that she put into with helping us to make this episode. And really look forward to having her on the team. And so, yeah, shall we kick it off?
Alrighty, we'll kick it off with one of my favorite poets. Starting off by saying, "There is a reaper, whose name is Death, and with a sickle keen he reaps the bearded grain at the breath, and the flowers that grow between." And that is by Henry Wadsworth Longfellow. He was a poet, but he
And
knowed it because he was such a large fellow.
I was going to say, was he tall?
Yes, he was a very long fellow. Death is a topic that's been pondered and discussed since humankind has came to existence. How do we die? When do we die? Why? When do we go after this? Is it peaceful? Is it chaotic? Still do not know. But one of the constant symbols and the historical answers is someone to deliver them to the afterlife. Tonight, we are going to discuss the Grim Reaper, the many forms he takes, and the history behind his skeletal appearance and the form of a cloak and a sickle or a sky.
Scythe.
Scythe.
Yes. Little interesting story. How our mother can see things that are beyond our normal realm of existence.
Mm-hmm.
I remember her telling me a story one day about the um, the neighbor's daughter was sitting outside, and she said that she was sitting on the curb, and her head was down, and so mom was tempted to go and check on her. She just got this pulling, to check on her, but then something told her to stop. And she said that she was enveloped by what she could only describe as, this dark figure, but it didn't seem like an evil figure. Um, and it ended up the poor little girl ended up passing away that night. And so my mom believes that she actually saw the Grim Reaper or the Angel of Death coming, to collect this little girl, and it's just a very sad story, but kind of interesting as well that she was able to witness that.
Mm-hmm. Well, also, kind of along the lines, dark but at the same time hilarious, is our when I was growing up, we had a next door neighbor that was a butcher, and he had just come home late from his, I guess, butcher store or something like that, and he's so tired he passed out on his evening chair, on this little lazy boy, and this guy broke in the middle of the night, just to rob the house. And he looks over and he sees this gentleman covered in blood. And he's like, freaking out a little bit. And then all of a sudden, the neighbor just lets out this extreme snore. The thief screams at the top of his lungs, waking up everybody in the house and running out the door just as the cops are driving by on a routine.
Oh
So,
my goodness. Well, Shelly says she's not sure if Raymond will be joining us tonight. He's
okay.
a huge Buffalo Bills fan and is really upset about the game last night. Yes, I don't know if you heard, just a little bit off topic. One of the Buffalo Bills, he collapsed right
Had a
after
heart
making
attack.
a. Was it a heart attack?
Yes. He's
Oh my
actually
goodness.
he actually had
Oh.
a heart attack on the field, and basically they had to revive him.
Oh my goodness. I didn't know exactly what happened. I just read because I started seeing in my feed all these people, that were saying sending out prayers for him and his family. And I'm like, what's going on? And so I looked it up and I read that he had collapsed on the field, but at that time they didn't know what had happened. So our thoughts and definitely go out to him and his family, and we pray that he has a quick recovery.
Right.
Sorry to
We
get off the
also
topic there.
I also want to little off topic as well, but still, our hearts and prayers go out to is the actor who played Hawkeye.
Oh my goodness. Oh goodness. Are we talking Alan Alda
No,
from the movie or?
from the we're talking about the Avengers movie.
Oh yes, Jeremy Renner. Thank you. I
Jeremy
was thinking,
Renner.
my mind, you say Hawkeye, it goes to MASH. I'm sorry, but yes, poor Jeremy Renner also. He was in snow plow accident on New Year's Eve.
Mhm.
So our thoughts and prayers go out to him. May he have a quick recovery as well.
Right.
Um,
Haven't
sorry.
gone into too much of it, what his injuries were, but at the same time, that's just
Yeah.
tragic to have you stop to fix something on your snowplow and you get accidentally run over by it.
Oh my gosh. Yes,
Uh,
but hopefully he'll pull through. He is supposed to be in critical but stable condition, so
mhm.
thoughts and prayers there. But let's go ahead and get back on topic. I apologize for that
Oh,
little rant.
no
Um,
problem. That is kind of the topic with our wonderful smiley friend.
yes, it does seem that the Grim Reaper that we recognize started to appear during the 14th century, and this was during Europe's darkest time. Um, a plague that had struck caused one third of their population to perish. Now, this is the biggest plague known to this day, and we know it now as the Black Plague. Um, it was the strongest from 1347 to 1351. And believe it or not, it does still continue to affect people to this day. Thankfully, now we do have ways to treat it so that the death rate is not as high.
Right?
Um, and interesting enough, we did have a black plague here in the US in California, which I'd love
San
to discuss.
Francisco.
Yes, I'd love to discuss that on another podcast because that's a very interesting tidbit that a lot of
Right?
people are unaware of.
If you ever get a chance to, there is a wonderful lady mortician on YouTube
Mm,
that actually discusses weird deaths and interesting stories dealing with death. Not only death preparations. She's done a topic on different types of murders, mysteries,
mhm.
unexplained deaths, that sort of thing. She did a
Yes.
really good, uh, good, good episode on the Black Death Plague,
Yes, she
and
is.
as well as the one in San Francisco.
Yes, her name is Ask the Mortician.
Hmm.
And another good one to check out where they also talk about it is Bailey Sarian. She's mostly known for her murder mystery, but she does have a dark history podcast that she does that's very excellent. It talks about a lot of things in our history that a lot of people are unaware of. So I
Hmm.
highly recommend them too. Um, but going back, the Grim, let's go ahead and break down the words of Grim and Reaper. As Grim was first used in the late 10th century, and it meant fierce, cruel, or savage, or it could even be harsh. Like when they said it was a grim winter or a grim famine, so on and so forth.
So
Now,
what you're saying is that there has nothing to do with the Harry Potter black dog. Oh, it's the Grim. Oh, well, it's me, Harry. You have the Grim in your teapot.
no.
No.
But if you think about it, the Grim was supposed to be very savage and harsh and cruel, so it kind of fits around the same, you know. But anyway, then we have the Reaper, which is to gather a harvest or a crop. And many deaths back in the day were not pretty, as there was disease and war and famine and punishments, and they were awful painful and not quick. Hello, Shaylee. Glad you could join us. We are doing great. Hope you enjoy the topic tonight. Um, because death was so
That's
rampant.
Chelsea, it looks like. Is that Shelly?
Shaylee,
Jaylee? Hello.
yes. Yes, because death was so graphic and so brutal and so, it happened so often back in the day that it became to be very feared and not understood. Um, and I think this is where the basic understanding came in, to people fearing that death and fearing that reaper that was coming. But let's go ahead and continue more into that, what contributed to what we know as the reaper today.
Well, also, when it became to the Black Plague, they actually did have people out there screaming, "Bring out your dead! Bring out your dead!" which they would take to and set fire to them out on the outskirts of town. So now, during that Renaissance era, paintings were formed to help humanize death to get a better concept. It's easy what to fear what you cannot see nor understand, the unknown. The term Grim Reaper was first written in 1847 in a book called The Circle of Human Life by the Reverend August Thurlock, and is a fairly modern term for death. The Reverend Thurlock mentioned him in the first passage. There are many who suppose that a clear and certain knowledge of their day, of their death, would exert a very powerful influence upon their mind. In that opinion, however, there must be some deception. All know full well that life cannot last above 70, or most 80 years. If we reach that term without meeting the Grim Reaper with this guide, there or thereabout, meet him we surely shall. Death being thus the most certain of all events, why not begin at once with the work of preparation for it?
You are frozen.
I am frozen.
You are frozen.
I am not frozen.
You are frozen on my end. I apologize. My connection's acting up again this week for some weird reason.
Raise of hands if you would like for me to repeat what I just said. He is okay here.
Oh,
So let me also go ahead and explain the fact that one of the most favorite sketches of mine is dealing with Monty Python going, "Bring out your dead, bring out your dead." Here you go. Wait a minute, he's
yes.
not dead. He will be. I will not. Look, I'll give you 5 quid if you take him now. But he's not dead. 10 quid. Right. Bunk. Bring out your
Yes.
dead.
Yes. I always, whenever I hear Bring Out Your Dead, I think of that. I did not realize it was an actual thing. I thought that was something they made up, to be honest.
Yes.
Shows you how smart I am.
Right.
Yes. So, how did the Black Plague shape who we see as the Grim Reaper? Well, let's just go ahead and start with the basics. We have the skeletal figure. This is a hooded shroud to cover his apparition. And we have the scythe that he uses to harvest his souls. Now, back in the day when the plague was happening and other things, medical science definitely was not as advanced as it is today. And, it was pretty obvious what happened when someone died. They would decompose and leave their remains for the rest of eternity. Now we have the cloak or the robe that shrouds this figure. And it's thought that this robe is symbolic of the religious practices of the 15th century, as these robes were worn by monks or priests that officiated at the deathbed, giving, I guess, their final rites.
Hmm.
Also, it's thought that perhaps he's wearing these robes because of the doctors for the plague or the volunteers that helped out as well. And these doctors were hired by the cities to treat the people affected by the Black Plague so that the poor could get care as well. They wore dark robes and a mask that was reminiscent to a crow. They used herbs in the beak to help protect them from the plague and to help mask the smell of death that blanketed the cities at the time.
Oftentimes, these were not real doctors. They were volunteers and were hired to keep a census of the death rates and what symptoms were common. There's a record of a gentleman who sold fruit who posed as a doctor could get the job. He later became a real doctor because of his experience during the plague. The plague doctors were also known to tell families and that to get the best medicine available, that they would have to pay extra, so they made money on the side for providing fake cures. It was rumored that
Mm.
drinking bacon grease would keep a person from getting the plague. Bacon grease. I know a lot of people these days would like that little this side of bacon grease with the nice little mixture to cook up dinner the next day. Now, also, the first artwork of the Grim Reaper, or simply Death, was a skeleton that was floating or had wings and would have a farm tool in hand. The sickle, sky, or
Scythe.
scythe was the most common as it was used during the harvest season. Death used to harvest the souls. Some paintings would show him in the crowd swinging the scythe to, to harvest hundreds of souls at the same time as the plague had. Later on, it showed him hovering in the shadows, shrouded by his cloak. Cloak.
Yes. So going back to the bacon grease, does that where the greasy snake what do they call them? Those people who sold the
Snake oil salesman?
yes, the greasy snake oil salesman? Is that I
It
guess where
might
that
be,
curse came
yeah.
from? Yes. And the Grim Reaper has had many other names and faces in other cultures. In Viking territory and Nord beliefs, Odin was the god of war and of the dead. When warriors died, Odin welcomed them to Valhalla, where the slain would gather, feast, and party. He was seen sitting on his throne wearing a robe, a brimmed hat, and holding a spear. He had two ravens that scoured the earth to search for information, one being Hugin and the other Munin. Now, why did he use ravens? When a body was decomposing, ravens always showed up to pick the carcasses and would circle above. Wherever ravens grouped, there was death that drew them together. Nevermore. Hell
That's
is the
right.
other god. Hell is the other goddess of death in Norse belief, and not much is known about her, other than she was a deity of tombs where the bodies were kept. She was known to be cruel, which is why Hell was later turned into Hell, in
Hockey
what
stick.
yes, in which the Christians would believe to be a cruel place for the bad to go. Now, here we did talk about Odin and Hell, but what about the Valkyries? To me, those would be more like the angels of death because aren't those the ones that come and collect the souls to take to Valhalla?
Interesting note. I just watched a documentary the other day on Norse mythology.
Mhm.
The Valkyries were more or less again the Grim Reapers. They were the ones that brought the heroes to Valhalla, while it took the others to hell. And basically, in Hell's domain, it was just nothing. You weren't drinking, you weren't partying, you just there.
Okay,
Uh,
so sounds like a
it,
boring existence.
that's exactly, it was a boring, mundane existence. You dead, nothing special is happening to you. You're just kind of walking around being uh, dead. While Valhalla, on the other hand, you've got party galore, fighting in the morning and dinner at night.
Wow. That's that's interesting. That makes a
Yeah.
lot of sense.
All right. And so now we go over to the Greek mythology, where Thanatos was their version of death, not to be confused with Thanos, the uh, finger clipping master of destroying half the population of the universe. Now
Yes.
he was a son of Nyx, who was the goddess of night, and his brother was Hypnos, which who surprisingly, hate to break this to you, he was the god of sleep. So which is why
Really?
you Hypnos ties putting someone to sleep.
And
He was
hypnotherapy.
hypnotherapy, sleeping while you're being while being cured while being asleep.
Yes.
Therapeutic for sleep. Everybody, thank Hypnos. He would appear and carry them to the underworld where the Fates had decoded their time on Earth had expired. He was often portrayed with a large black raven wings. Interesting to note, and so did Odin have black raven, and he carried a sword. Hades was the god of the underworld. He sits upon his ebony throne and keeps the dead there. It was said to be unforgiving, worn a black rose, and used to carry remove the dead. Now, Kronos is the closest resemblance to the Grim Reaper. He was Father Time, and he was the harvest god, for he carried a sickle with him and wore a robe. He was most well known for devouring his children in fear that he would be overthrown. The myth of him eating his children was poetic to the sense for Time devouring everything. It started the phase for nothing lasts forever. Now, going back to the Thanatos in Greek mythology, in Roman mythology, he was called Chiron, who also, would take the souls to the underworld.
So again, going back into the Greek mythology, and then you've got the river Styx. Wouldn't the
Hmm.
boatman also be considered kind of tied in with the Grim Reaper because the boatman was the one who carried him
That
across
was
the river Styx?
that was actually what Thanatos and Chiron. They were the boatmen.
Okay, I gotcha. So going back to On a Pale Horse, which is my ultimate favorite Pierce Anthony book, in a way, I guess his death is very similar to the Thanatos. In fact, I think that's what he went by in in the book. And then we did have Cronus as well in the Nether incantation. Um, but what I really liked about going on to that one is the fact that he would weigh the souls to see where they would go in their afterlife. And
Bit of trivia, Ashley, our wonderful group. How much was it to in Greek mythology to cross over the river Styx?
I want to say it was they would because I know they would put a coin on each eye
Mm-hmm.
to pay the river Styx, but I don't know
Right,
how much each coin was worth.
2 drachmas.
Okay.
which was basically enough money to get you across. Now, only two people in Greek Roman mythology did not pay. Orpheus, who was the one who went to go rescue his betrothed, uh, gave gave
Yes.
gave
Shelley,
the gave Chiron a song in exchange for passage, and Hercules, in order to go talk uh, to the god of the underworld, Hades, actually threatened the life of Kronos. I mean, not Kronos, of Chiron, just to get
yes.
across.
Yes, Shelley pointed out that Chiron was the ferryman
Hmm.
across the river Styx.
Yeah, Chiron, as well as Thanatos was also. I think that Thanatos was actually the Roman name of it. So.
No, Thanatos was Greek, but I think what Thanatos collected the souls and then took them to Chiron, and then Chiron teleported them across, I guess you could say.
Hmm.
Now, moving on to the hot desert world of Egypt, um, the Egyptians believed in Anubis as their god of death. Now, unlike what we are used to seeing with the Grim Reaper being the cloak and the skeletal, um, Anubis actually wore the mask of a jackal. And why would he choose a jackal for his death visage? The reason is that jackals were notorious for digging up graves of the deceased people and eating their flesh. So it was thought that Anubis protected the dead and ensured they had a proper burial and helps guide them into the afterlife. Um, if you've ever seen back in the early 90s or late 90s, actually, there was a show called Kingdom Hospital written by Stephen King. Excellent show. I was so disappointed they canceled it. It was so good. But they actually did have Anubis come to guide the afterlife in that show. It was very, very, very well done, I think. But he would ensure that they would get a fair trial of their judgment in the afterlife and help them with their resurrection into a new life that was gifted to them. So, all in all, the Grim Reaper appears in many forms, but has many of the same attributes and the same job. They sever the string of life and guide you to the great beyond. This is with protection and confinement, darkness and judgments, and they give you a safe pass to the end. And you can be a king or a street sweeper, but everyone dances with the Grim Reaper. Robert Alton Harris. So, what are your thoughts? What are your opinions?
My thoughts, opinions, dreams. Again, uh, I really seriously believe that in order for people to understand a lot more about Twilight, one of the first episodes of the Twilight Zones I ever saw, it was the first appearance of Robert Redford in anything. It was called When a Stranger Calls. It was about a little old lady who spent her whole life being cooped up in the house, letting nobody in, letting nobody out. One New Year's, she hears a voice saying, let me in, please. I need help. And so she lets in what she believes is to be a young policeman. She pulls him in and dresses his wounds and takes care of him. And so finally, as throughout the episode, uh, they kind of spent some time together, and she does finally flag down a policeman saying, there's one of your guys out in here, and he walks in, and the bed's empty. She stuns and turns around, and as the cop leaves, there's Robert Redford again. He's fully healed, and he says sometimes death can be a yes. Was the policeman that was death? He says sometimes uh, death can come as a friend. Sometimes with just a handshake or a heartbeat. And he reaches out his hand, and the little old lady takes it, and he says, "See, it just like a whisper." And the camera pans over, and you see her laying on the bed. And he's like,
Aw.
"Now, come with me. Uh, we'll see what's out there." And that's the way the episode ended.
If he's Oh, that's a good
Like I
one.
said, that is to me. Uh, I mean, I could tell you stories upon stories of different types of stories I've heard about the Grim Reaper in folklore and fantasy. Another one of my favorites is it's a real short one. I believe it's a fairy tale. I'm not sure whether it's Grimm or it's Hans Christian Andersen, where uh, basically these two men have died, and yes, it is a wonderful way to show that this isn't a scary, painful ending. Definitely. But the story I remember is one of them is that the Grim Reaper uh, was taking two souls to heaven. One of the souls was a very rich man, and of course the Grim Reaper's laughing, enjoying it, slapping him on the back as he walks up to the gates of heaven, while the poor man is being on the other side of death with just being very silent with them. And so finally, as they reach the gates of heaven, uh, the poor man asks the Grim Reaper, uh, "Why are you so happy and jovial with this rich man? Surely he did. What does he deserve?" And the Grim Reaper looks at him and says, "Every day I lead more and more of the poor to the gates of heaven. It is a rare thing to see a rich man reaching the gates."
Hmm,
So
interesting.
again, that's another story. The fact of how we've perceived death as being neutral.
Hmm. And going back to the On a Pale Horse, the reason I love that book so much is because, this guy, he becomes death, and he's very reluctant about it. He doesn't want to go, and he doesn't want to take people's souls. He doesn't want to weigh the souls and send them to their afterlife. He's like, he feels very guilty for taking these souls. But as the book goes on, he realizes that this is a necessary part of life. You
Right.
have to die, you have to move on. And like Shelley pointed out here, it is just it's a transition into the next chapter. And I think the reason that a lot of people fear it so much is because there's so much unknown about what's on the other side.
Hmm.
I mean, we'd all love to, you know, believe that our souls carry on, and that, either we go into reincarnation, or, our spirits go up to heaven, or whatever your belief may be. But there's still so many people who don't know if that's really true. And so there's that fear of the unknown, like what is waiting for us. So what are your thoughts? And how can we reassure people that it is nothing to be afraid of to move on?
Uh, Let me go ahead and give you a wonderful poem that I think it feels more appropriate.
Okay.
It's by a wonderful poetess. I call her a poetess because she's just a wonderful way of looking at that. And before I'm going to read the poem before I tell you the name of the poetess is. Okay?
All right.
Because I could not stop for death, he kindly stopped for me. The carriage held but just ourselves and immortality. We slowly drove, he knew no haste, and I had put away my labor and my leisure too, for his civility. We passed the school where children stroll at recess in the ring. We passed the fields of grazing grain. We passed the setting sun. Or rather, he passed us. The dew drew quivering and chill. Only gossamer, my gown, my tulip, my tulip. We paused before the house that seemed a swelling ground. The roof was scarcely visible, the cornice in the ground. Since then, 'tis centuries, and yet feels shorter than the day I first surmised the horse's head, who were there towards eternity. The poetess was named Emily Dickinson.
Hmm.
That's kind of to me like the perfect example of what death would be.
Interesting. That's a very, very lovely poem. I really like that. Thank you for sharing. And I'll go ahead and link that in our group so if people want to check it out and read it for themselves. Shelley says, I've watched many videos of people that experience past life memories, and many are children. I've had memories myself and later found out that my aunt had the same memories as the older sister. Yes, I think I remember you had shared this when we talked a little bit about that. I do want to do an episode on past lives in the future where we go more into that. Um, I I don't know. I kind of have a little bit of a fear of being reincarnated because I don't want to lose my memories of this life, if that makes sense. Um,
I also, well, also I would love to agree upon our wonderful your husband, my favorite brother-in-law. I'm sorry to say if anyone hears this, but the whole if I was reincarnated, I'd probably be the guy who didn't believe in reincarnation.
yeah, that was his joke pre-stroke.
Mhm.
Um, but uh, I think, but I definitely want to go into an episode on reincarnation because I know that there's so many different, because I know that there's some people that believe that the entire soul is not reincarnated, it's just bits and pieces, as well as the whole theory that time is irrelevant and what's happening now happened like something about time kind of like revolves around itself or envelopes itself or somehow. So just because you're reincarnated doesn't mean your soul's not existing in another place at the same time. Or I
Right?
I don't really understand it all, but it was something that I heard from a psychic that was told to them, and I thought that that was very fascinating.
Well,
So I definitely want to
there is an old Appalachian gospel song, and I consider it a gospel song called the uh, the Unbroken Circle. And of course, you hear it sometimes in country western songs going, will the circle be unbroken by and by, Lord, by and by? Will the certain be as waiting In the sky, Lord, in the sky. So,
Yes, I remember that from a country song called Sweet Country Music.
and there's also a version of it of Daddy sang bass. But yeah, it is an old Appalachian gospel song from the mountains.
Interesting. That is very interesting. I actually watched a YouTube video last week about Appalachian witches that I found very
Mhm.
fascinating. So I'm going to link that as well. But
Yes, but yeah, I just that to me, if you're talking reincarnation, that is something that circle.
yes,
Will it ever be unbroken? Are we ever going to stop being reincarnated?
yes. Well, I mean, if you think about it, just is there really a finite amount of souls that we just keep recycling, or is there an infinite amount of souls where each person has their own personality, their own soul? Then you
Uh,
have like the soulmates, the twin souls. I mean, this is something I would definitely love to get into in a future episode.
mhm.
Um, and I would love to talk with if anybody knows anybody who does past life regressions. I would love to interview someone on the show sometime who does
Right.
past life regressions because there's so many unanswered questions and so many things that we just don't know about the afterlife. I have heard stories of near death experiences where they've seen, you know, what they consider heaven. I've heard of you know, people who've chosen to come back from heaven and reincarnate. So there's just so many amazing things that I would love to go into. I don't know if it would be two separate episodes. If we would do one about,
Well,
um,
I would if I encourage people. One of our early episodes, we actually talked about a certain person's near-death experience. I would maybe one of these days we'll retell it again.
yes, I was wondering, did we ever tell that story?
I believe we did, but
Oh, yes, but I'm wondering, should we do it as like two separate episodes where we talk about one is near death experiences and another one reincarnation? Or should
well,
we blend them together into one episode? I mean, what are your thoughts as our listeners? What do y'all think we should do?
personally, I think we should split it up into two because I also want to talk about you know the science version of where near-death experience just says, "Oh yeah, you just get uh,
Yes.
it's just something chemically happening to your brain, as opposed to what other people have said."
Yes.
What's this
Hi.
chat about?
We were talking about death and the Grim Reaper.
Hmm.
And now we're just discussing a little bit more about, thoughts on death and the afterlife. And
So
yes. But yes, yes.
we
For
both
90,
believe and there is an afterlife. We also believe there's also a forward life too. Now that's an interesting topic in itself.
yes. Um, so yes, we are, and that's, pretty much what we're discussing is the different thoughts and beliefs in an afterlife. We both believe that there is one. And I mean, this has been, a fascinating discussion tonight. Again, I want to thank Autumn for coming on and helping us with the research on this one. And anything else you'd like to add on this topic?
Uh, well, again, I firmly believe that everything should have more cowbells because I have a favor for the flavor of more cowbells in every song.
Yes. And if you do happen to have someone come to escort you to the afterlife, we should not fear that Reaper. He's just there to make the transition as pleasant and as um, beautiful as he can. Um, he just wants to help us through that transition. So don't fear the Reaper.
Right. And if you don't believe anything happens after death, that is more power to you. We're just, like I said, it's our own
Yes.
personal view and discussion.
Yes, that's true.
One life, and you're going to make it the most of it. That is a wonderful way of thinking about it.
Yes. We have, while we're here, even if, we are reincarnated, we may not have these memories. So, like you said, make the most of what you have now. Oh, Shelley. Yes, Shelley says she does.
So basically, you're kind of like, do not go gentle with this good night.
That makes sense.
The belief in purpose of life, I believe, is the what Douglas Adams firmly stated: the meaning of life, the universe, and everything is 42.
Hold on, I've lost my sound again.
And if you know exactly the early days of pre-programming,
Sorry, I
42
lost my sound.
is actually the supposition code for whatever you want. So that is my belief. The purpose of life is the belief in doing whatever you want.
Yes.
I do believe in repercussions, good, bad, or indifferent. So
Yes, I do believe that do whatever you want, but that doesn't mean that there's not consequences for your
yeah,
actions. So I just believe, be the best person that you can in this life. Treat people with kindness and respect and love. Um, just, live that golden rule. Love. Do
it's
unto
not
those.
it's not whoever's got the most good make the rule. It is do unto others as you wish others would be doing to you.
Yes. This is very true. There is no purpose besides living a good life. To me, that is a good life.
Mm-hmm.
I, like to hold on to that belief that there is something more waiting for me on the other side, being able to be reunited with those that I love that I've lost. But to each his own on their beliefs. Yes, karma, harm none, as you do, you will. Um, total
Because the
belief
nights
in
become
karma.
the nights, the days become the days. Try to run, try to hide, break on through to the other side. Break on through to the other side. Aha. Sorry,
Okay,
I got
Jim.
possessed. I just got possessed by Morrison. Sorry.
That's okay. It's not the first time one of them is broken through.
Yes.
So, but so anything else you want to add to this?
Yeah. Hopefully within the next couple of weeks, we're going to have a special episode, just kind of giving slight predictions to the uh, for the new year, as well as we may have some uh, us being interviewed on something. We haven't worked out all the details yet, but we should know something about the middle of January, where you can catch us on somebody else's podcast, Podlings.
Yes. We have someone has reached out to us. We don't have all the details yet, so we don't want to go too far into, but we should hopefully be on another podcast sometime this month, as well as Richard mentioned, have a special guest on to do predictions for the new year for us. And so if you have any questions on what you would like us to, find out for predictions for this year, definitely, ask them in our Facebook group or here in the chat.
I mean, if you really want to ask the ultimate question of exactly, hey, does Ronald Reagan know that Barry Manilow stole his outfits, or did Jodie Foster actually understand why Jimmy Hoffa is buried underneath the stadium there in New Jersey? Or even if you think that Elvis Presley is alive and well and living in sin with Janis Joplin and Jim Morrison, these are questions that we could possibly ask the psychic. If you want a real, truly good answer, go ahead. Send us at info@skepticpsychic.com for questions that we could possibly discuss with our guest.
Yes. And if you're new to us, if you're watching us on Twitch or YouTube, we ask that you like and subscribe to our channel so you know when we go live. Um, on YouTube, make sure you hit the notifications. I predict that Kimber will. Actually, Shelly, I got my mailbox fixed yesterday, and then they ran over it again last night, destroying it again. So yes, the city insists that okay, I live on a corner, you know, street, at the corner, and they come around the curve very fast. The post office insists that the mailbox be on the side of the curve. I warned them. People come around my block very fast. My mailbox is going to get hit. The post office told me, I apologize. That is what they want. This is what the post person told me. Okay, I put my mailbox there. Twice it has been ran over. Once within 24 hours of putting it back up. Yeah, I am at the point of I don't know what to do. Should I just forget the whole thing, pay for a P.O. box, or what should I do? Because people do not have any respect for the fact that I have a mailbox in my yard, it seems. Sorry for that rant. But yes, if you are watching us on YouTube, make sure you hit the notifications. We are usually here on Sundays at 8:30 p.m. Central Standard Time. But since yesterday was a holiday, or since Sunday was a holiday, we did it today. Also, we're both been, as you know, getting over being sick. So thank you, Shelly, for saying you hope we keep getting better.
Yes.
And
Like I said, I lost my voice for 2 weeks. I do apologize. I just got it back a day ago fully. So
yes, and as you can tell, mine is still kind of hoarse. So I've got a little pony in my throat. Sorry. But if you have anything that you'd like us to discuss, you can always email us at info@skepticpsychic. We are, this is a new year and we are looking to make the show even better. So we do have some ideas. We'd love to hear your ideas. If you'd like
Try
to,
it. You'll like it. Trust me. What I lie.
if you would like to be a guest on our show or share your experiences, you can definitely email us, or you can also join us in our Facebook group, Skeptic Psychic. If you want us to, if you have a story you want to share, if you have an experience that you think others would benefit from, if you have ideas on how we can make the show even more exciting and better, or segments you'd like to see, definitely let us know. Um, if you don't have time to watch the whole video, but you want to catch up, you can always listen to our podcast at Apple Podcast, Spotify, Podbeam, anywhere podcasts are found. If you listen to us on a podcast, we do ask that you rate us. And what ratings do we like?
we would love, 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 but it's just a slight request, just a slight. But we would love for you to give us 5 stars. That's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 stars. We would really love that. But if you tell us we suck, that's understandable. Tell us why we suck. I just want to know exactly how we can get better for you to enjoy us a lot better, more.
Yes, definitely. Please leave a review. We will read reviews on air, so it is a good way to get a shout out. We are looking to possibly get a Patreon in the coming year to help, with support of the show. If there's anything you'd like included in a Patreon, I know we have some ideas of some things that we've discussed, but if there's something that you would, feel like you would benefit um, through that, again, let us know. And anything else you would like to add?
We love you. Thank you for coming in, being in with the conversation today.
Yes, thank you for joining us. We should be back this Sunday at the regular time, 8:30 Central, 9:30 Eastern, 7:30 Mountain, and 6:30 Pacific. Not specific, but Pacific. Sorry. And this next week, we will be talking about. Do you remember what we will be talking about this next coming Sunday?
Please tell us.
I thought you would remember. Sorry, we're both getting over the flu, people.
Right.
So, I am not sure, but I will find out and I will post in our group what our next episode is.
Right.
So, but again, we thank everybody for joining us, and we hope you enjoyed our little talk on the Grim Reaper and death in the afterlife. And thank you for putting up with our rants and our tangents. And take care, everybody. Good night.
And unpleasant nightmares.
Sweet dreams, everyone. Good night.
Good night.